Welcome to Risky Bitness. If you're a regular viewer of my channel, you might notice that I'm not appearing on camera in this episode. I'm just trying something out here. Let me know in the comments if you would like to see me in the videos or if you would prefer to just see game footage instead. In any case, I hope everybody's quarantine gaming is going very well. I hope you're finding lots of great stuff to play and staying safe and staying inside. For this video, I have been playing Final Fantasy XIII. I decided to give it a second shot. Now, I've been playing Final Fantasy games since the first one was released on the NES, and I've been a huge fan of the franchise ever since. Now, a lot of things changed between 1988 and 2009 when Final Fantasy XIII was released, and for an old-school purist like me, some of that change was difficult. When I first played Final Fantasy XIII, I already expected to be disappointed. The mixed reviews were often damning, and each mainline entry in the series had been radically different ever since 10-2. I absolutely hated it. I got as far as Pulse and I had just had enough. I quit playing and I never picked it up again until now. This time I really did do my very best to focus on the positive and make an effort to like the game. So, did I justify my earlier impressions or sit down and feast on a big old plate of crow? Stay tuned to find out. When I first set out to make this video, I wasn't expecting it to have the kind of scope it wound up having. We're going in deep. Because of this, I'm going to break it into parts. This is part 1 of Is Final Fantasy XIII Really That Bad? Here we'll be focusing on the surface level, the graphics, sound, and music of Final Fantasy XIII. The rest of the parts will dig deeper into the meatier aspects of the game. I'll put a link to the full playlist in the description. For this video, I played the PC version of Final Fantasy XIII. During the course of the playthrough, I found out that the 1440p resolution looks kind of pixelated, but there's a mod that fixes it, so you'll notice some difference in the footage as I get to the later parts of the game. The earlier parts aren't going to look as nice. There is a link to the mod in the description, as well as some affiliate link to purchase this game and some other different things, if you would like to do so. Of course, I get a little bit of kickback for that, not much, but it's something. As much as I disliked this game when I first played it, there's no question it is an absolutely beautiful game. This is one thing Square Enix has been very consistent about throughout their history, especially when it comes to Final Fantasy. While the 8 and 16-bit games may seem unremarkable today, they looked great in their time, and from the PlayStation onwards, an impressive visual presentation has been a staple of the franchise. As you traverse the worlds of Cocoon and Pulse, you will walk through highly detailed environments with beautifully rendered textures, loads of color, and a tremendous level of detail. Character and enemy animation bring the world to life, and the use of light and shadow sets the mood for many aspects of the game's story, which we will explore in greater detail in the third and final part of this series. For the first time, we have characters on screen who look human, and this goes a very long way in telling the story. Sure, we came close in Final Fantasy X, but who doesn't remember how stiff and awkward the Tidus laughing scene was? How wooden did the characters often look during those close-ups? All that is gone now, and these people have real facial expressions and show emotion in their eyes when they're speaking. Their faces are detailed enough to look like real human faces. Uncanny valley for sure for many of you. From a design perspective, I feel like the player characters in particular are somewhat plain and boring. There's very little distinctive about them, and their wardrobes are a little drab and kind of uninspired. Sure, sticking 100 belts on a dress was not a genius move, but at least it was interesting. I think this is the first time I've really been disappointed with the look of player characters in a Final Fantasy game. They look a little bit too much like normal people, though that does kind of make sense since it's clear that Nomura is trying to create a sympathetic character cast here. Still, if a little more attention had been given to the costumes and the designs, and maybe they had some more elements that made 7 through 11 so visually appealing, I think that really would have gone a long way. Snow is just a guy in a long coat. Saz looks like he raided the army surplus store. Snow's got this like half of a kilt or like a flannel shirt tucked into his belt or something. I don't really know. Just kind of blah. I am very struck by how Lightning, who's supposed to be this badass soldier, has a build more like a runway model than an athlete. I really would expect someone like that to have a more athletic build and look more powerful and muscular. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying she should be built like a linebacker or a pro wrestler, but at the very least, a character like this should have like a lean, muscular build and not just be skinny. If you look at characters like Tifa, and even though it's smaller Riku, I think those designs look much more like warriors than Lightning does. On the extreme opposite, you have Snow, who is so massive that he absolutely dwarfs Sarah in their flashback scenes together. This is an odd choice, and the contrast makes even their dramatic scenes borderline comical. The general design otherwise is pretty fantastic, though a lot of it looks like unused designs from 10. They look a little out of place in the dystopian future setting of 13, but they mesh a little better when it goes into like a nature scene. Most importantly though, everything does look like it fits together. The creatures and inhabitants of Pulse and Cocoon, they look like they belong. As your party flees pursuit by Psycom, they travel through broken down and remote parts of Cocoon that look and feel like the sort of places a fugitive might try and sneak through. As you get to Pulse, it looks like this lush, unknown, unexplored, wild world. Enemies match the set pieces and the scenery quite beautifully. Because the combat here is very fast-paced and action-oriented, the flashy visual effects have a lot of impact. There's just so much going on with the spells and eidolons, and it all looks really, really fantastic. Flashes of light and color heighten the sense of action and make every attack feel meaningful. It is a little hard sometimes to see how much damage you're doing, because it's all moving so fast and there's so much going on at once. You have to really pay attention to see what's going to pop out. One of the main things I noticed on my second playthrough is that Final Fantasy XIII is meant to be experienced like an interactive movie. The frequent cutscenes, flashbacks, and dialogue breaks are all in place to make this feel like a blockbuster film, and I think that deserves some acknowledgement. The presentation is full of familiar shots that I'm certain are the results of filmmaking techniques that you may recognize from Hollywood blockbusters, and this is all done very intentionally and by design. It all comes together to elevate tension and drama, and emphasize story beats in a way that makes it all feel very alive and real. This is something Square has been trying to do since the beginning, and with the technology available at that time, it was a much more attainable goal, as long as the talent and the budget needed to do it were available. Back in the 8-bit days, you really couldn't make something come to life this way, but I think that's always what Square was trying to do ever since Sakaguchi made that game. This kind of directing really pushes forward a sense of urgency that drives much of the first act of the game. It really makes the player feel like they're being pursued and have to just keep on pressing forward. In fact, it wasn't until after I had been reading up on the game a bit that I realized you even could stake out an area and patrol and grind. I thought you had to keep on moving all the time. But there are actually quite a few really great grinding spots in the game that you can just keep on looping and collecting items, so that kills the immersion a little bit. Along with the graphics though, if there's anything that Square Enix knows how to do right, it's scoring a game like this. Masashi Hamauzu deserves absolutely all the credit in the world for just knocking it out of the park with this game. The score is amazing, and it may be the best in any video game that I've ever heard. And that's not an insult to Uematsu, who is a genius, and I was a little disappointed when I found that he didn't score this game, but Hamauzu did a great job. I think all this is owed in no small part to the incredible versatility that Hamauzu has in writing for different instruments and arrangements, and he clearly has a deep knowledge of music theory that allows him to explore the full range of emotion through music. Absolutely, I would say a master of setting the mood with these sweeping adventure themes and subtle but busy background music, which is just complex enough to keep the mind from wandering through play. On the other hand, the music often doesn't really match what's happening on screen, so as your characters experience this range of emotions from fear to anger to existential dread, you get a happy jazzy piano tune might be playing in the background, and that sense of fear and isolation that your heroes are feeling is kind of downplayed by music that has a completely different mood. So while the music is tremendous as always, the scoring is just a little bit off. Now, what really bothered me was there's a part with the chocobos and the chocobo music plays, and there's actually lyrics to the chocobo music, and I kind of hated it, but I also kind of really loved it. Like, I hated that they did that to the chocobo music, added lyrics to it, but I really loved the way it sounded. So it's kind of torn between part of me that really didn't want to hear something like that changed from what I was so used to it being like, and a part of me that was hearing something new and novel and cool and exceptionally well done, and really wanted to enjoy it. If we take a look at the other Final Fantasy games, though, going all the way back to the start, the music always matched what was happening on screen. So fast and adventurous airship themes, battle themes full of tension, and slow, mellow, foreboding overworld themes were always right on the money. Towns and cities always had relaxing music that would invoke feelings of relaxation, and intense plot moments were highlighted by elevated and intense music. And this was not always the case when I was playing 13. I would love to do a little bit more of giving examples of those things, but I feel like it's going to make the video very long and take a long time. I think if you look at my other Final Fantasy videos and just play the games yourself, I think you'll get a very good understanding of what I'm talking about. So look, so far I think we're starting this series off on a really positive note. On the surface, Final Fantasy XIII ticked all the boxes, even on my first playthrough. I was impressed with the visuals, the music, and the general design, all very much on the first playthrough, apart from, as I said, the character designs. Although I think Fang's character design is pretty cool. I think she's the coolest looking character. She has this cool exotic look, and yes, Vanille has a similar exotic look, which makes sense, being that, spoiler alert, they're both from Pulse, but still, definitely I think Fang was the better of the two. Now, on my second playthrough, I'm paying a little bit more attention to some of the detail, and I'm very impressed so far with everything that I've observed. I really think I didn't give this game a fair shake the first time I played it. Though truly Square Enix has experts in each of these areas, they're working together to create a world, characters, and environments that are just breathtakingly beautiful in both their visual and aural elements. It's directed like a Hollywood blockbuster, so with everything on the surface being so top-notch, what did I dislike so much about Final Fantasy XIII on my first playthrough? You'll have to watch part 2 to find out as we dive into the highly divisive gameplay systems of Final Fantasy XIII. Thank you so much for listening and stopping by the channel. I greatly appreciate your support. Everyone who has subscribed to the channel, I want to thank you so much for making this worth doing. And I really want to get more subscribers in and get my content out to a larger audience. So please leave a comment, subscribe, share the videos on your favorite social media platforms or your blogs. Help get the word out if you enjoy these videos. Once again, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And until next time, game over.